Jake Goldman, welcome to PressConf.
Hello.
That's the only title. That's the only title I have. That's we're still workshopping the podcast name and title as it goes, but this is this new chapter, this new iteration of Pressnomics that we've known and loved for so many years. Now being head by Raquel and team, taking us into the future for what we really need, at least in my opinion, is this discussion of WordPress and business and putting humans in a room to chat about that comfortably. And excited to have you there to talk about 10 Up and everything you've been up to recently.
Yeah, I mean, lots happening at 10 Up, lots happening in the ecosystem. I think a lot of the things we're dealing with is probably what a lot of the business and agency ecosystem is dealing with. I mean, continue to see a lot of, I think, consolidation, a lot of integration in the space. The big thing going on at 10 Up in the last couple of years is we merged with a company called Fueled. I am no longer the dominant owner of the business, which is a new and exciting adventure for me. Still an owner, still a major shareholder in the business, but no longer the guy in charge of everything. While I think our experience, which I don't think will necessarily be uncommon in services, was an integration, the merger to expand what we do, not to go further into WordPress as a capability. I think we've also seen a lot of other M&A in the space. I think that's natural for maturing ecosystem. Seen a lot of interest from other agencies in the space around M&A. I kind of feel like, in some sense, we did it just in time. 3 months before AI and ChatGPT blows up on the scene. Maybe a good year before a lot more questions entered the WordPress ecosystem about its future. And then, of course, the other thing that's throwing all of us for a bit of a loop and really helping us think differently about how we work, both internal operations, what customers want, how we service customers and stay competitive, is that little thing called AI, which changes everything from how we market and communicate to how we do proof of concepting to how we write code to, I don't think I'm being melodramatic to say it feels like it changes everything.
Yeah. We're going to talk a lot about that stuff at PressConf. I think if there were a title for that M&A acquisition chapter of your autobiography, the title would be "Phew." like you just made it right before a lot of stuff rocked the WordPress universe. Let's briefly, because I don't want to spoil everything we're going to talk about at the conference, but just how you might put into context what an agency, air quotes, has to do these days to survive. Can it just be WordPress? Does it have to be WordPress and another service, or WordPress plus AI plus another service? Is there a way for you to contextualize what you think an agency should be thinking about right now?
Yeah, there's a lot there. I think if you're not thinking about AI, if you're not thinking about the value you provide as strategists, as problem solvers, as product makers, and just thinking of yourselves as defined by a strong technical capability tied to a specific technology, I think that's as hazardous as it's always been. I don't mean to sound doomsaying. I think the idea that agencies, particularly, to be pointed about it, particularly agencies that charge sort of premium rates and premium prices and have a lot of talent that's onshore or even nearshore. It's not new that we can't just compete on, hey, we're the best engineers in the space. It's just not a durable proposition. I've said for years, I'm sure since the last Pressnomics, it's not a durable proposition as the space. Even before AIs, you start to have thousands of agencies and thousands. So there's no precious commodity. We know how to write code for WordPress anymore. I think AI accelerates that challenge and that problem. I think shakeup in the ecosystem changes that equation. I don't think it hurts to still say open source or even WordPress specifically as our tool of choice to be a CMS platform for businesses, being the way that people ultimately publish and manage their content on the web. But I think very specifically hire us because we are the most efficient way to produce a website. Is going to be a more challenging proposition. And it's particularly hard for companies that are not just 1, 2, 3, 4 founders, partners, We have to move a larger ship in terms of getting our team on board, having the right incentives, having the right motivation to figure out how we increase the value that we deliver for dollar spend. And to ramble you for just one moment more, I think we'll probably get into it in this panel. I think that question of value is probably the right one. Like, it's easy to, I think, misstate that to say like universally in a healthy or maybe healthier economy, enterprises or business will spend less. I don't necessarily think that's true. That's sort of, I think, a misinterpretation. But I think they're going to expect an awful lot more for the same budget. I think if you're spending, to pick a random number, if you're spending $250,000 or $50,000 at that point, when there are $1 million, whatever your price point in the market is, whatever their expectations, what they would get for that, have probably gone up.
Yeah.
How much you can get done in that time, how much we can produce. We have to figure out how to bring down the time it takes to produce the same thing we were making 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. 20 years ago, the typical, I guess, like like client and agency relationship was probably like, hey, client, you could build this too, but you certainly don't have the knowledge and the team to do this WordPress thing. You hire us and we'll build it. Then 10 years after that, just for an example's sake, Elementor came along, and suddenly maybe customers would have been like, hey, Jake, we want you to build our site, but we really want you to use Elementor. That might have shifted the way that relationship was. Like, now the client's a little bit more savvy now. They kind of can use the tools. And now what we might be seeing with AI is the client's going to turn to you and say, hey, we could do this with AI, but we want you to do it. And now we're just going to expect a little bit more from you because we all kind of get the way. So it's almost like this, I don't want to say like the veil is being removed from the client and agency relationship, but it certainly feels different, where maybe both parties now have a technical acumen that's a little bit higher because you can just get these answers so quick from ChatGPT or your favorite AI tool of the day, really.
Yeah, I think that's basically right. I don't necessarily think companies will suddenly want to have to think about how do I make or manage a website in a way, particularly for enterprise, that's secure, forces pushing against this, harder than ever compliant with all the things you have to be compliant with. So I don't know that I would anticipate near term, who the heck knows anymore, 5-10 years, but sort of midterm, I don't necessarily anticipate everybody's just going to say, we'll just do it ourselves internally. I do think we have, compared to say 10 years ago, or maybe 6 or 7 years ago, none of us have a monopoly on the expertise. That is not just about AI. That's about WordPress's dominance as a platform. That's about all these companies now that have that capability, all these developers who have that skill set. But yeah, I think what we're both saying is, I think if you're for that same amount of spend midterm, I think there is an expectation that you're going to get a lot more. I don't think that's an overnight shift, but I think when you think of that 2-year, 3-year horizon, if we don't, as established businesses, as established agencies, as established players in this WordPress economy, as the event is framing it, figure out how to start doing a lot more, giving a lot more value for the dollar, some small team that's a bunch of inspired, motivated 3-4 person founder will figure out how to do it. I think you start talking like 5-10 years now. I think it's, my crystal ball is pretty hazy these days.
Yeah. I'm going at 1 year increments these days. Like 5 years is just like astronomical to me. This is a good segue. So for the folks who are watching this, who are still maybe on the fence, like, do I go to PressConf? Do I make the investment to buy the tickets? Airfare, travel, all this other stuff. I want to talk about the dreaded 3-letter acronym ROI, right? Like, how do you get the most return on investment from this conference? And what we've kind of hinted at, Jake and I, I'll be moderating an agency panel. Ran an agency for a decade. I was, really good. Well, am really good friends with Jake, but I was really good friends with Jake at the time, and we did some partnership stuff. And we'll be moderating that agency panel. So you definitely want to come to that talk, right? But for the folks who are like, man, this is a little bit more pricey than a typical WordCamp. It's not $50, right? So it's a little bit more pricey than a typical WordCamp. How do they extract value from this? Do they have meetings? Do they, find the stakeholders that they're, looking to invest in? What's your takeaway for getting the best ROI out of an event like this?
It's a great question. I don't, to say, I don't think it's like a go there to find customers kind of a situation. Maybe there's a little bit of that if you're, but I think the primary benefit you should expect out of one of these like birds of a feather event is a couple things. One, there's partnership opportunity. I think more than ever, we're finding people have different strengths, different capabilities, maybe access or reputation in different kind of client pools. And I think finding those relationships, finding those partnerships, finding new ways that we can collaborate and work together that will, I think, ultimately, from a sort of strict dollars and cents ROI impact, have meaning is one of the more, and let's call it more transactional, more tangible ways you'll find ROI. But I also think it's just at a time where we're all wrestling with change, we're all grappling with what does 1 year, 2 years, 3 years from now, I think it's hard to put a dollar return on investment on this, but I think the importance of the collective wisdom, the ability to walk away from that conference, hopefully feeling a little bit inspired, hopefully feeling a little bit energized, maybe feeling a little bit worried and getting your competitive, defensive hackles up. I suspect will be incredibly powerful. I would expect people would walk away saying, maybe I need to think differently about this part of my business strategy. I just heard a great idea about, to stay on our topic of the day, I just heard a great idea about how 10up or another company or Gravity or something is using AI. And I think I can go back and talk to my team and we can change course here a little bit and make our business stronger. I think that collective wisdom, that those narratives and stories as we're all trying new things are going to be hard to put a price tag on.
You'll never believe it, Jake, but I've built a handful of React-based powered apps all by myself, thanks to AI. But we'll save some of those for
now we're definitely doomed.
Yeah, if you see me coming with a bushel of React apps, you're in trouble. Right. We'll save that for the conference. 10up.com, Jake Goldman. Anywhere else you want folks to go to say thanks?
I think you hit them up.
Awesome. PressConf.events, April 23rd through the 26th. It's PressConf.events. Get your tickets. Say hi to Jake when you see him out in the courtyard. Once again, I'll keep saying it in every interview, the Tempe Mission Palms courtyard and that venue, at least 7 years ago when I was there, was really cool. And it's a great place to hold the conference. PressConf.events, April 23rd through the 26th. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next one.